Welcome to my channel. If we haven't met before, I'm Karri Gregor. I'm so glad you could join me. Recently I had some surgery done, so while I'm recovering, I decided to look back on a project I did about a year ago. I hand engraved an 1886 Winchester rifle. Let's take a look at the design process. The piece arrived and I opened the packaging. It's a beautiful gun. The case-colored hardening was already done at the factory, and it is just stunning. Some people insist that the engraving should be done before the bluing, but I believe there are options that preserve the piece while presenting the engraving in the best light. Here is an example of an engraved gun with the case-colored hardening done after it was cut. This is not one of mine. If I had known I would be making a video, I would have taken more pictures of previous projects instead of gleaning images from the web. Anyway, this is a scroll cut piece and you can see the engraving lines, but the variation of the colors in the background obscures the scheme. It makes the engraving understated and subtle, but hard to read. Here is another with an animal, a deer, cut in the middle of the layout. It has the same issue. It's difficult to see the design in the swirl of colors. The owner and I opted to engrave through the bluing so the composition is easy to see. However, the metal was opened up to the elements and it has to be maintained with oil or wax. It could be reblued or covered in a clear Cerakote to keep the steel from oxidation. The owner chose the clear Cerakote to seal and protect this piece after it was engraved. We have a beautiful metal canvas to work on. What's next? Design. Planning is primary. I can have great engraving skills, but produce real ugly if it's not determined in advance. Every design has themes, motifs, or elements. Choosing about 3 motifs is optimal. 4 is okay, and 5 just ends up looking very cluttered. I chose 3 motifs. One was the trim style, the second one was the scroll style, and then the third usually is some kind of a geometric or line shape or geometric shape that's repeated, and that's what I chose. I chose a geometric shape to repeat. Once I have these elements chosen, I can weave together a unique design that's definitely unique, not like anybody else's gun. This is one of the benefits of getting a custom engraving. Everything is individual. Your piece won't look like anybody else's piece because everything is designed and then hand drawn and hand engraved. So nothing is ever alike. It's very different than a machine generated cuts and design. The first motif or element was the trim that I decided. Now this is something that is a border. It's going to go on the smallest piece or frame the largest area. It's something that gets repeated throughout. I didn't have time. That means excess budget to spend on frivolous things. I needed something that I could engrave quickly, that was elegant, and I could just do it without a lot of fuss. This was the trim design I decided to use. It's small, about 2 millimeters wide. The twist part is only 1 millimeter wide. I can do this trim with just the graver and not have to get out my hammer for dot work. It's perfect for this piece, elegant and simple. To lay out the design on the metal, I use a water-based paint and I spread it very, very thinly all over the metal. This gives me a base to draw the trim in pencil and an opportunity to show the drawing to the owner so they have say-so on the idea before any metal is cut. When I engrave a piece, the owners are involved in the design as they want to be. The trim turned out very clean and graceful. Perfect fit for this project. The first design motif was trim. The second was scroll. Pretty much all engraving entails some kind of scroll, whether it's Western, English, American, oak leaf, or even Celtic. There's so many different kinds. It can vary and depend on the owner's wishes and the engraver's personal technique or their favorite. I went with my favorite, or fallback, the scroll I was taught by my engraving instructor, Jim Downing. So I added some scroll to the front band of the rifle and engraved both sides of the front band. So we have the trim and a little bit of scroll on there. Then another piece is the lever, and that has to be very elegant as well. So a little bit of scroll and some trim, just a line on either side. Always have to repeat the same thing on the other side. I also use this same scroll and trim to put on the sides of the receiver. It frames the piece. It's those little bits that add the finishing touches to a piece. If you want to see how I draw and cut scroll, please check out my previous video of engraving a set of Vaquero cylinders or of the Colt. There's a pair of Colt pistols. Link is in the description below, and hopefully there might be an information card above. See? This trim also worked very well on the top of the receiver. Now let's talk about the chamber side of the piece. The owner loves animal scenes, and that's typically what you would see on a rifle of this type. It's standard engraving. I don't consider portraits or lettering to be a design element. It is the thing that the owner often wants on the piece, and it is the thing that you use the design elements around to draw the piece together. The style of the motifs is what makes these pieces, the animals or the lettering, that's what makes it stand out. So let's take a look at some traditional animal scenes on rifles. This is a lovely piece that was blued after the engraving. Flat bluing preserves the subtle cuts and detail. It's pretty fancy with the inlaid gold. Gold inlay just for straight lines can run upwards of $250 per inch. So this piece's total engraving is likely in the tens of thousands range. I'm just interested in where the animals are placed. The small goat at the top left and the circle with the bighorn sheep. This one is even fancier. Nice English scroll and gold inlaid bobcat top left and deer in the circle at the front. This one is simpler, but we have the same placement with the moose at the front. The engraver chose to fill the top left spot with scroll. It's a good choice. Same kind of placement with this one. Cougar, top left, and deer in the circle at the front. Looking at our blank canvas, I'm going to place the animals in these traditional spots. I have a list of animals that typically go on an 1886 Winchester. Most often the owner has an idea of what they want, but the list can be helpful for suggestions. Usually we need 4 spots to fill on a receiver of this type. We have the main seam, so that's granted, on the left-handed side, and then there's 3 other spots. The owner wanted some wording on the bottom of the receiver, so that left 2 places on the chamber side. And after some discussion and going back and forth, we decided to put elk for the main landscape, and then an eagle and a moose on the chamber side. Finding the right pose for the space is a hunt. I go through many pictures to find something that fits. The problem with the front circle is the screw. I have to find a configuration to accommodate it. Shrinking this image will make it too small for the scene, so I'm looking at just the head. It still doesn't fit with that screw in the middle. In order to make the antlers fit, this moose would be a little head at the bottom. No good. I didn't like this either. The moose would have to be so small to fit the half circle, the face would be lost. This moose is better, but the rack, covered in snow, falls right on the screw. Same problem here. Plus, the moose is facing the wrong way. If at all possible, the animal should be facing the direction of the barrel. This is promising. A profile of the moose still reads as a moose. The eagle is recognizable too. I like this eagle pose. It will fit nicely around the screw. A better profile of the moose too. This could work, but I still don't like that the moose is that small. Here we go. The eagle fits great, and the water or bushes cover the legs of the moose, which means I can make the image larger. I just sketch up those animals in my computer and add landscape features to fill out the scenes. I'm going with this design. I'm sorry, I didn't film it, so you can't see this part of the process. I didn't know when I was doing it that I would be making a video. As you can imagine, this takes a chunk of time and involves a good pencil, a ruler, and some circle templates. You can see the third design motif in the top border, triangle. I'll talk more about that choice another time. These are the pictures the owner viewed and gave approval so I could cut the design. I'm not cutting the chamber side in this video, but I have a couple of clips of engraving this gun, so I decided to insert it here. Didn't take any other video. The layout cut beautifully. The silver steel shines through the case-colored hardening, making the engraving really pop. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up below and leave a comment. If you check the video description below, you will find links to the website, TheArtistEngraver.com, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Next video, we're going to be engraving the other side of this 1886 Winchester and the other bits on the gun in part 2. So, while you are down there leaving a comment, please click the subscribe button and hit the bell so you will be notified when that metal cutting video is posted. Thank you for watching.